The first thing that I discovered was, for me, I really saw it as two different worlds. And I like to see things very visually. That's how I've created my whole life. And what I found was there is really two different paradigms. The world of time stress, which is the world that most of us were brought up in. It's the world that most of us live in, and we don't even realize there's another option. So let me just paint the world of time stress really fast for most of us. It's when your phone is ringing and dinging all day long. You wake up in the morning already feeling behind. You probably look at your phone, you scroll email or social or Slack, and you're already thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? You go all day long, always feeling like no matter how hard you work or how many hours you put in, it is never enough. If you give yourself a moment of break, which you probably don't because you think you should be doing something more productive, you actually feel like you're, again, falling behind. At the end of the day, you're exhausted. You probably collapse on the couch. You eat crap. You fill your body with shit that you know is not the most nutritious for you. And then you feel angry, you feel resentful, and you wake up and you do the whole cycle all over again.
Amen. I'm familiar with that life.
Right? And also too, it's like there's more things on your plate. Your calendar is constantly packed. If you're spending time with your family or your friends, there's some little dialogue in the back that says you should be doing something more productive. And by the way, when you're working, you feel totally guilty that you're not taking more downtime, or that you're not with your family, or that you're not doing something free. So it is this torture chamber that you can't get out of. And then if you go on social media because you want to feel inspired or motivated, all people tell you is you'll sleep when you're dead. And if you're not hustling hard enough, you don't want it bad enough. And you just feel like a loser and like you want to check out. And you probably, like me, like, can I just disappear? Like Mindy, that's what I was saying to myself. And I've never said that before in my life.
Yes.
So that's the world of time stress. Most people don't know there's another option.
Yeah, I want to comment on that because, again, you're talking right now, for people listening, you're dealing with two high-performing women. Like,
yes.
We want to do everything that we possibly can. And we are in an incredible time in history where we can, as a woman, do everything we possibly want to do.
Yes.
But every single thing you just said about you're with your family, you feel like you should be at work. When you're at work, you feel like you should be resting and with your family. And when you go to socials, you feel like you're not good enough. Bingo. You just described my brain. And I really, again, want women, if they heard that and they resonated with that, to know they are not alone. And that's the paradigm that has to break.
Yes. So that's the world of time stress, right? And here's the thing. If you are feeling constantly exhausted, constantly overwhelmed, like you can't focus, like nothing you do is ever good enough, no matter how many hours you put in, you're always behind. I just want to let you know it is not your fault. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not too old. You are actually subscribed to what I believe is an old, outdated, toxic paradigm that will destroy us emotionally, physically, financially, in every way. Now, let's talk about—
Wait, I want to say one thing on that.
Yes.
Because we have worked as women, and we have both men and women that listen to this podcast. But again, we have worked so hard to get to be in alignment with the patriarch. And the patriarch, again, is just the power. It's not men. There's so many supportive, amazing men out there. It's just the structure of our society is really fit more for a male body than a female body. So I just had to point that out.
Yes. And everything that we'll talk about, by the way, all of the strategies that we'll share in terms of how do we reimagine our relationship with time, therefore our life, have no ruling in gender. It doesn't matter how you identify, you'll be able to benefit from this.
Yes.
So now let's look to another world, time genius. This is the world where you actually wake up feeling spaciousness. You're very clear on what you should be working on first, second, and third. You don't have a mile-long to-do list because you're not creating that type of game for yourself to lose. When you're with your family or you're resting or you're playing, you don't feel guilt. When you're working, you're highly focused and you know how to modulate to take care of your mind, your body, and soul. You're getting your most important projects done at this stage and season of your life, and you feel very, very comfortable saying yes and no because you are ultra clear on what matters most to you. You don't have your phone on 24/7. It's not ringing, dinging, or interrupting you. You don't have distractions as much because you've set yourself up and you've set your life up to not let them interrupt you. You have a set of tools in your toolkit so that when life happens and throws you a shit sandwich, which it does for all of us, you have the emotional and psychological and physical reserves to be able to navigate. You understand when you're in what we call in Time Genius, the trenches, which is when you have such a huge event that happens in your life or your family's life, an illness, a loss, a death, or grief, that you give yourself the space and grace that you need to not go at 120 miles an hour like you think you should have when you're adhering to the paradigm of time stress. So in the world of being a time genius, you really know that there is always time for what's most important, and you're in the driver's seat. You feel so much more control and you feel so much more possibility because, again, you're not subscribing to this old, toxic, dated world that is going to wind up killing all of us.
Agreed on that last statement. Very much agree with that. Okay, when I hear you paint that picture,
yes,
it literally sounds too good to be true. And then my brain goes, but I know you wouldn't present something that was too good to be true. So how long does it take you to go from time stress to time genius?
Here's what's so cool, and I'm glad that you said that. It is not a one-time choice, but here's what's awesome. Being a time genius, not only is it a shift in your paradigm, but it's a practice. So it's not a one-time event. It's something that we keep investing in. First of all, because we are living in a world that is immersed in time stress. So it's natural, right? As creatures who have mirror neurons and we're surrounded by people who are stressed out all the time, the seduction is there. The siren call is there. Our phones are there. So being in the time genius zone is like a muscle that you can build up. You wouldn't go to the gym once, right? And go like, oh, I'm going to work out today and I never have to work out again. The time genius zone is something that we continue to play with and cultivate and evolve as we evolve through the different stages and seasons of our life. So there's a set of principles which we'll talk through. There's tactics and strategies. But here's the thing that I really loved about how I created this, because my own struggle with like earlier versions of time management systems and stuff is they all felt very rigid. So Mindy, I call myself a multi-passionate entrepreneur, right? I have ADHD. Well said. I'm all over the place in terms of my passions, my energy. So I needed to create something that was flexible, that was modulated so that people could dip in and dip out and use only a handful of strategies that they need right now. It's not a system where it's like, you must do this every step or you're going to fail. No, there's no failing. We don't need that. That's not productive and it's not realistic with life. So we'll get into the first thing, but I will say step number one in becoming a time genius, it's not about your planner. It's not about a new app. It's actually not about any external strategies. Becoming a time genius, first and foremost, is an inside job. What do I mean by that? We have to start investigating our own narratives, stories, beliefs that we tell ourselves about ourselves and our relationship with time.